All right. And now we'll do one more official whack of the bell. We're playing it by ear here today, but welcome to Denver Rotary. Happy Thursday, everybody. Thanks so much for being here. Hey, Troy's back. Look at this. But yeah, welcome. Thanks for coming today. I'm really stoked about our presentation today. But first, let's do the Pledge of Allegiance. If you would all stand back up now that you're at your seats. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, and now with our inspirational moment, Seth Patterson, past president, principal broker, Patterson and Company Commercial Real Estate.
Thanks, Ian. Good morning, everybody. I almost forgot I was doing this. I was having such a delightful cup of coffee with Shannon Stone, wherever Shannon's at. There she is. But I printed off a bunch of inspirational quotes from Google, and I'm going to just read a few. The bad news is time flies. The good news is you're the pilot. You define your own life. Don't let other people write your script. That was Oprah Winfrey. The other one, can't pronounce his name. You are never too old to set another goal or to dream a new dream. Those are the only ones I had time to circle. So have a good lunch.
Thank you, Seth. Your motivational quotes were significantly better than mine. You know, the good news, the bad news is that time flies. The really bad news is that it's about to hit you in the head. But thank you so much for being here. And next, let's do our club secretary's report with Club Secretary Troy Szymanski, partner and fund manager for Outpost Fund. Clapping for everybody that comes up to the election.
Every single person. All right, so I've been told time and again that once upon a time, part of the secretary's duties were to leaven things a bit with a joke. And so what better week to do that than with some news of this past week. I think a lot of you have heard that Norm Macdonald passed away. So I figured I'd start with some of his stuff, which could be dangerous. You know, one of the things he always said was, he always said the perfect joke, he thought, had the same setup as the punchline. He also said comedy is surprises. And if nobody laughs at your joke, well, that's a surprise. Maybe next week I'll do the moth joke. Some guests I'd like to welcome today. We'd like to welcome Andrea Tastow. And by the way, the next four are all going to be guests of Global Mind ED Ambassador. Is it Mind Ed? Mind ED? Great. Okay. Okay, perfect. So the four guests coming on behalf of Scott Bemis, our speaker today, will be Andrea Tastow, Ashley Blubaugh, Lyle Bauman, and Ryan Petretti. We also have, again, our speaker, Scott Bemis, as well as speaker's guest, Ethan Fisher. Ignore that first part. I don't think I'm supposed to introduce our speaker. So that was not what that was. It was a welcome. And then finally, we'd like to welcome Megan Law, who's a visiting Rotarian, former district governor, club president, and current executive director at the Oklahoma City Rotary Club. So thank you to all of our guests. We do have some birthdays for this and next week. So please join me in wishing happy birthday to fellow Rotarians, Tom, Paul, Pam, Rich, and Ted. If you see the five of them today or at next week's festivities, please wish them a happy birthday. All right, and then some announcements. Well, we are meeting in person this week. What is next week's agenda, you ask? Well, it is the 4th week of the month. So it's an evening of socializing and networking over hors d'oeuvres and a partially sponsored bar. I think that means the first 2 drinks, first 1 or 2, I think, depending on turnout. So join us with your spouse, your business colleague, a prospective member here at the Warwick next Thursday, September 23rd from 4:30 to 6:30. No reservations for members are required. If you're interested in sponsoring one of these bars, please see Rotarian Jeff Mason. Don't forget to email your dietary restrictions to Lauren prior to these in-person meetings. The menu will be posted in the Tuesday meeting email. Finally, join Rotarian and artist Gene Herman and the Rotary Theater Group for an informal Rotary get-together at Gene's art exhibition, Fascination, tonight from 5 to 7 at Sync Gallery in the Santa Fe Art District. Please RSVP to Gene so she has a proper head count. More information is always provided in our meeting recap emails, so keep an eye out for that later today. That's all from me. Back to you, President Ian.
Thank you very much, Troy. Appreciate it. And it's always nice to see another person that likes to make people laugh, but is not funny. All right. And now with our service day announcement, September is one of our 5-week months here. So we are going to bring up Mark Whipper to talk about what we're doing for our 5th week service day.
Thanks, Ian. And boy, is this a tough act to follow between you two. As Ian said, we've got a 5th week, 5th Thursday this month. It's the 2nd one that we've had. Thank you to those that volunteered. The first one, which was in July at Earthlinks. The Cherry Creek Trail cleanup is scheduled for October 2nd, which is a Saturday. So we're not doing necessarily everything on a Thursday that's a 5th Thursday. We kind of stretched it a little bit so that it's the week of, because that's when we can do the Cherry Creek Trail cleanup. A couple of, I guess, maybe changes, or at least one change. You have to provide proof of vaccination as part of the registration process. And the waiver of it, I think some of you have signed who have volunteered there in the past. So go to the club website. The information's all there. It's been announced the last 2 or 3 weeks, I think, in the meeting recaps. So I'd love to see a great crowd there. I promise the weather will be perfect. So come on out, volunteer. Let's get it cleaned up. It's been a while, I think, since last spring. I think we did one. Yeah, so it's probably been overdue. So hope to see some or all of you there. Thanks very much.
And now this is actually my favorite part of the of any meeting here, and that is new member introductions. Chad, do you want to come up and let's see, we've got, what's that? Do we have Lucy here? So Lucy, and Rich is not here, correct? Right? I don't see him. Okay, so Lucy, come on up. And Chad. So we are really, really excited to have you here, and we'd like to give you a couple minutes to introduce yourself to the club.
Great. Hi, I'm Lucy, and I was going to start off with my undergraduate degree is from Notre Dame, but my graduate degree was from here in Denver at the University of Colorado at Denver, and that allowed me to apply for the Temple Buell Scholarship, which I won when I was there, and I was able to travel to Italy and study in Rome for a year. So that was a very invaluable experience to me. I studied architecture. I'm an architect today. I work for RMG Engineers. We're down south. We have 4 different offices up and down the Colorado Front Range. I'm married. I have 2 children. My oldest is a boy, and he is at Creighton University as a sophomore. And I have a daughter who is 15, and she's at Regis Jesuit here in Aurora. I have always wanted to join Rotary, and finally I'm at a place where I can do that, and I'm looking forward to getting involved. I don't know exactly what I'll be doing, but I plan to spend some time finding out what all is involved and all the things that are being done by this club, and then I'll jump in with 2 feet. Anyway, thank you.
Awesome. So we have a couple things for you here. We've got a book about our first 100 years, because we are one of the clubs that is over 100 years old. Got some more information about Rotary and your Rotary pin that you get to wear proudly now. And Chad, thank you so much for bringing Lucy into the club. We're incredibly excited to have you here. You're joining a group of people that are super dedicated to the community, that are here to serve, that are here to love people first, figure out the rest later. And so, based on everything that I've heard, it sounds like you're going to fit right in. So thank you so much for joining us. And if you could all stand and welcome Lucy to our club. All right, beautiful. I do love those. I do love those these days. And now we've got Jill Santuccio, fundraising team VP and founder of Prism Communications. Come on, Jill. You may need to update that. I was going to say, right?
I'm actually a paralegal at AdZero IP. Yay! Thank you, Mark Donovan. So today, I know everybody kind of cringes when Jill stands up at the podium, because it's like, oh gosh, the vice president of fundraising is going to ask me for more money. Guess what? I'm not going to ask you for any money today.
Oh, sorry. Sorry.
See, you put me up to this. Instead, I want to celebrate. I want to celebrate some of the great things that we did last year. Some of the great things that you did last year. Debbie Beasley, I don't think Debbie's here today, has coined this great phrase that I use liberally, which is, we are one great club with 2 great foundations. We have our local DRCF, Denver Rotary Club Foundation, that was established 51 years ago, I think now, since we celebrated the 50th anniversary last year. That would make sense. As well as TRF, which is the Rotary Foundation, which is our Rotary Foundation that's based in Evanston, Illinois, the mothership, as I like to call it. So what I do want to do first and foremost is thank all of you that are in the room, all of you that are out there in Cyberland, all of you who stepped up and either made your $100 minimum contribution to each one of the foundations, or went way above and beyond, some of whom I'm going to talk about in a minute. So I do want to talk a little bit about our successes last year and how we're going to be looking at things moving forward. One of my big goals for fundraising this year is to communicate more about where your donor dollars are going, and to celebrate you more. We have a lot of folks in this room who are very generous. I'm a big proponent of celebrating Paul Harris Fellows through TRF. And we also have a fellows program through DRCF. So you're going to be hearing a lot more about that. One of my goals is to do quarterly recognitions instead of just once a year. So stay tuned. So drum roll, please. Numbers from last year, our total annual fund donations to the Rotary Foundation were $51,625. To the Polio Plus effort were $16,913. Now, those goals for reference were $50,000 for the first, and I believe $10,000 for the second. So we far achieved those goals, mostly thanks to the inimitable Peg Johnson, who carries the torch so well for TRF. So thank you for all your hard work, Peg. Also for reference, we are going to be tracking moving forward every Rotarian every year. And our goal is that every Rotarian gives a minimum of $100 to each foundation each year. So our every Rotarian every year percentage on the TRF side last year was 54%. I would love to see that be more like 100% this year. On the DRCF side, we raised a total of $34,986. And that was a every Rotarian every year percentage of 47%. Now, neither of those totals that I just rattled off have anything to do with peach sale. Red buckets are not included in those totals. This is just direct giving when you write a check, whether it's $20 or $200 or $20,000 to one of those foundations. And with that said, I also want to make a quick push for both Virgil and Mark Donovan, who have been working really, really hard on our Legacy Society for DRCF. The Legacy Society for DRCF is where you include your DRCF in your planned giving wishes. And as part of the 50th anniversary last year, Virgil took on by himself a very hard push to increase the number of people in the Legacy Society. So we have 43 members who currently have DRCF in their future plans, and 26 of those folks have committed to a total of more than $1 million. So my hat's off to Virgil for doing all of that hard work last year, Mark Donovan for taking up the mantle and doing that moving forward. And I especially want to thank some key people who have are remembering us moving forward, such as Chuck and Marty Everell, John Klug and Bernice. I'm so sorry, I always butcher your last name. Passu. Okay. And Mark Donovan and Bill Emig. So many, many thanks to all of you. And also, just real quick, if you are a member of the DRCF Legacy Society, will you stand? Thank you. Okay, I'll be back in October. I didn't ask today, but I'm going to ask in October.
Wait, you took my script. Thank you. I mean, I'm a performer, but I'm not that good. And now we are going to do our good news buckets. Jim White, come on up, my friend.
Hello, everybody. Jill, you took most of my time, but you had 3 minutes and I've got 5, and I am going to ask for money. But at any rate, our lovely Lauren here is going to follow me around, and if you don't have any cash in your pocket, then she's going to take the credit card immediately. Apparently, she doesn't trust even Rotarians. I don't know why. But you know, we can give good news, and we can also tell a little something about your business, and it costs you a mere $20. Like for instance, I've got in here in my pocket $20. Now, did you know that my company that I sold to my sons, Eric and Scott, is Denver Machine Shop, started in 1916 by my grandfather. You know that we made the train that runs around Lakeside, and we also have repaired that train that has the 32-foot crank arms that is the biggest and oldest steam engine that runs through the world or through the United States, goes back and forth to Frontier days and runs out to California and runs over to Chicago. You know that we're not really in the train business, we're in the mining business. Most every mine in Colorado comes to Denver Machine Shop, and we can fix and make anything. Many of you are our customers. We have over 5,000 active customers. So that just for $20, you can do the same thing. Talk about your business. Now let's share some good news and some. Any of you have good news back here in the back? I'm walking back here. And Lauren, if you're going to follow me, you're going to have to hustle along. These guys don't look like they have any money in their pockets. Okay, we got here Mark Donovan.
I want to give a big shout out to Matt Isola for hosting bowling. If you did not get to go bowling, please be sure and sign up for it again next month. It is the funnest thing ever.
Thank you, Mark. Who's next over here? We have Sid Brooks.
Thank you. I'm not going to promote a business or anything, but I am going to promote that anyone who is here that knows about a good organization in the Denver metro area and that would be a worthy candidate to be a grantee of the Denver Foundation, the Denver Rotary Club Foundation, we wish you would recommend to them that they apply for a grant. Last year, we gave 11 grants out to different organizations. You know of some of them, and you're going to learn more about some of them later. But of those 11, 4 were new organizations, kind of startups or established organizations that already do good work in this city. If you know of an organization that would be a good candidate, please give us their name or have them contact us so that they can apply and they can be the beneficiary of our continued generosity. Thank you.
I'm dropping in $20 for, I have a happy moment that I'll just share in a minute, but I wanted to be sure to direct you to your pink cards at your table. We're only, Carter, 9 days away from our Woohumanity ride. And I'll be captaining Andre Van Hall's tandem bike. And my happy note is that we did a practice ride on Labor Day, did a 40-mile ride, and I did not dump over the bike, which was, I'm very happy about that. And I think Andre was too. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. Okay, here we go. Carter Sales, unfortunately, he wants another 15 minutes of my 5-minute time period.
Jill won't, but I will. Okay, so Woohumanity, like Jim said, this is a DRCF event and a district event. The team members are on your pink cards. We have 4 foundation presidents, 4 Club 31 presidents, 2 DCRF fellows, 4 silver fellows, 3 gold fellows, 1 diamond, 2 major donors, and 6 legacy society members that make up this team. Lucy volunteered. She wasn't even introduced yet. She's on the team. She is a volunteer. Okay. So I need 2 things. 1, support the team. You can see the link on your pink card. There will also be an email coming out. And second, my goal is 10 grand. Okay, we're about 5,000. And then we need 40 volunteers. So you can be a course marshal, aid station, hospitality tent. My contact information is at the bottom. I'm out. Woohoo!
Thanks, Carter. Okay, who else has some good news? Anybody? Oh, we go over here. Let's look over to the other side of the room here. I have Peg Johnson.
Yes, I want to remind everybody that the Rockies game on the 26th of this month, it's a Sunday afternoon. We've got over 350 Rotarians going to be there to see the game, and $5 of every ticket that is purchased will go to Polio Plus. So I urge all of you to come and join us. It'll be, I'm sure, in the survey that comes out after the meeting today. Sign up. We'll see you there. Thanks.
Thank you, Peg. And Shannon Stone is right here. She's asked for an opportunity to donate $20, but I don't see the $20.
Actually, I'm going to donate $100 with a credit card. Yeah, but it's plastic. So I just want to take a moment to, with great love, donate $100 on behalf of Scott Bemis, our speaker and my personal mentor, and also 4 of our amazing friends who are part of Propels, Lyle, Andrea, Ashley, and Ryan. And I just want to say, take just a quick moment about this man you're about to hear. If there's ever a man who wears his heart on his sleeve and believes in service and standing for others before himself, it's this man right here, Scott Bemis. And we as a family, our Propels family, have been there for one another through COVID, through hurts and heartaches and pain and challenges. with love and compassion for each other. And it's because of this man right here that brought us all together. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Shannon, very much. What a wonderful introduction there. Anybody else before I get cut off by our executive secretary over here? Anybody else want to say something about their happy family, the grandkids graduating from college, any of those kind of things? All right, I'm going to live within my 5-minute time period, and thank you very much for contributing. This is all goes to our own club foundation. So I appreciate the opportunity to collect this. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jim. Appreciate you doing that. It's always fun to hear all the good news and everything that's going on in everybody's lives. I'm going to throw 20 bucks in because I finally got my little 18-month-old son out to Rochester, New York to visit his grandparents, aunts and uncles, cousins for the first time since he was born. So that was awesome last week. So that was a big thing for me. I'll give it. It's plastic. It's plastic. Here you go. Thank you. See, everybody saw it. Everybody saw it. I won't forget this time. All right. So with that, again, thank you all. And now I'm bringing up Shannon Stone, who is going to be introducing our speakers. Shannon is Senior Relationship Manager for AMG National Trust Bank.
Getting used to all this etiquette. Thank you, Ian. I'm so pleased and honored to be able to introduce Scott Bemis, a former Rotarian who's not only the founder and CEO of Bemis Business Partnerships, but he's also a dear friend and mentor of mine for many years. Scott has more than 40 years of experience building relationships and developing partnerships in Colorado, while leading publications for the American City Business Journal. Most recently, he served as president and publisher for the Denver Business Journal, a position he held from 1996 to 2014. Scott represented EKS&H, which became Plante Moran, and many of their organizations in Denver and around Colorado from 2014 to 2020. One thing about Scott is he puts his whole heart in his service to others. Over the years, he has been involved in community service with organizations Visit Denver as a past board chair, Downtown Denver Partnership, Junior Achievement, Red Cross, United Way, Metro Denver Economic Development Corporation, Colorado Women's Chamber of Commerce, Rachel's Challenge, Colorado Sports Hall of Fame, and Colorado Children's Chorale. He received his BA in Sociology and Criminology from Principia College, and he's earned prestigious awards and recognition, such as the District Director's Award from the SBA, Honorary Doctorate Business from Johnson & Wales University, and Visit Denver Hall of Fame. Outside of work, Scott has two main passions. He mentors 25 young business professionals in a group that he founded called Propels, where he commits his time, talent, and treasure to help us be the best version of ourselves personally and professionally. And he works with the Colorado Department of Corrections to assist in reducing recidivism rates in Colorado. Scott recently launched Bemis Business Partners, a business designed to connect potential clients with 12 partner companies from commercial banking to technology and other crucial business services. If I could have my fellow Propels members, Ashley, Andrea, Lyle, and Ryan stand. It is our deep honor to introduce you to Scott Bemis, our mentor and a man who exemplifies what it means to serve with heart and poise and direct his sails towards his passions to affect positive change in the hearts and lives of others. Ladies and gentlemen, Scott Bemis.
Thank you, Shannon. Really appreciate the introduction. First of all, Lucy, I want to congratulate you on coming back to America from Italy, because anytime I've gone to Italy, our tour guide is always an American who went over there, fell in love with an Italian, and they became a tour guide. And they are phenomenal tour guides. They really are. So thanks for coming back and all the great work you're doing. I don't know if any of you are familiar with the 5 Ps. Proper preparation prevents poor performance. Have you ever been unprepared for a task? How did that look? What happened? Could have been a disaster. What happened to the Broncos last year when unfortunately all of their quarterbacks had to sit out and somebody who was totally unprepared was given a duty that none of us would have wanted, and that is becoming a quarterback overnight with no preparation. It was a joke for the Broncos. It was a joke for the National Football League to even allow that game to take place. But what I'm getting at is that without preparation, we can have very, very poor outcomes, performances. You're hearing from a guy whose purpose and passion, something I think about the moment I wake up every day. When I think about my purpose and passion, one of those passions is my mentee group of 25 unbelievable young people. And thank you for the surprise of showing up today to support me. Another passion I have has been working in the criminal justice system and traveling to prisons over the last 8 years. And the passion has now become one whereby I want to do anything I can to properly prepare former inmates that I refer to as returning citizens, to properly prepare them for reentry. The reason we have 50 to 60% recidivism rates is because most of the time, these returning citizens are released with nowhere to go, released with no money, released with maybe a bag of clothes. Family has said, we're done, can't come home. You go into a community and you apply 15, 20 times for jobs. No, I'm sorry, we cannot employ you. You're a felon. You apply 15 or 20 times for an apartment. I'm sorry, you cannot become a tenant. You're a felon. 3 of the biggest roadblocks that face a returning citizen is no home, no job, no money. How would most of us survive without a home, without a job, without money? We're on the streets, nowhere to go. Then we have a weekend of minus 15-degree temperatures, nowhere to go. What happens? They say, I had 3 meals a day and a bed. Why not go back? So they knock off a 7-Eleven store or do something that will put them back in prison where they do have a bed and 3 meals a day. 8 years ago, I was invited to travel to the Supermax prison in Florence. I serve on the board of Rachel's Challenge, which was started after Rachel Scott was killed at Columbine. She was the very first student killed. She was sitting against the building, having her lunch, when Harrison Klebold approached her. They knew she was a Christian. They pointed the gun at her and said, "So are you still a Christian?" She said, "Yes, I certainly am." And they shot her and killed her. They then went into the school and proceeded to kill 12 more people. Her father, Daryl Scott, said, I am going to do something positive with this event. And he started Rachel's Challenge, because Rachel was one of those gals, 16 years old in Columbine, who stood up to the bullies. when she saw them bullying another student. But with that, she said, even bullies have good in them. They behave the way they behave because of their past, because of circumstances. But she said, Rachel always said, we can find what we look for in other people. If you choose to look for the bad, you can certainly make a list of the bad. If you choose to look for the good, you can make a list of their good qualities. Make the choice to look for the good in others, and we can change this world one person at a time. Rachel's Challenge has 30 student speakers who travel the world with Rachel's message, and since Columbine, have reached 25 million people in live settings with Rachel's story. So Rachel is still changing the world over 20 years after she passed on. So I accepted the invitation to go to the Florence prison, not knowing what to expect. It was a day I'll never forget. So the speakers up front, as I am now, all of the inmates are facing the speaker. I'm on the side of the room facing the sides of their faces. As the presenter is presenting Rachel's challenge, I see tears coming down their faces. I see them taking copious notes. You could hear a pin drop when Patrick was speaking. And they were given the 5 challenges from Rachel, which is look for the best in others, continue to dream, be a positive influence, speak and act with kindness, and start your own chain reaction. The men really heard what Patrick had to say that day, because after the presentation, the men are given a few minutes just for a break, and then they come back, and the last hour is passing the mic from man to man. Every single person, and the passing the mic is for their reflections on what they had heard. Very first 2 words out of every inmate's mouth: thank you. We know you didn't have to come here today. We know you're not getting paid to come here and speak. We appreciate you. And here's what I heard today. And here's how I want to be a different person because of what I heard today. I was blown away. I said, I am no different, no better than anyone in this room. Many of us have been a step away from that bad choice that could possibly put any of us in prison. I know that there was a time before I met my guest today, who I'll tell you about in a moment. I would go to the galas. We have a ton of galas until COVID in Denver. It can be a gala a night. You're at the Hyatt, you go to the VIP reception, you have a glass of wine. Then you go to the regular reception, glass of wine. Now it's time to sit down at your table. 2 bottles are on the table. You don't even know how much you've possibly had. I know there are times when I had more than I should have had before getting behind the wheel. I was lucky. Had I not been lucky, I could have been right there where they were sitting. I'll tell you about Ethan Fisher for just a second. I met Ethan almost 15 years ago. Ethan had an unfortunate incident back in 2003. He had been drinking too much at a party, so much that he didn't know where he was. The next thing he knew, he woke up in a hospital. The nurse came in, do you know what happened last night? No. highway patrolman came in. You know what happened last night? No, you killed a man. Ethan spent several years in prison. He got out and he had a support system that most of the returning citizens don't have. But he was still turned down for apartments. He was still turned down for jobs. He went to Johnson and Wales University and ended up playing basketball for the Johnson and Wales University. And not only played basketball, but he was the only college basketball player on inmate status. He was recognized as all conference. He was most valuable player of his team. He graduated summa cum laude. He was awarded the Entrepreneur Student Award of the Year and the President's Award of the Year at Johnson and Wales University. Today, Ethan speaks in schools all over the country. His talk is the most impactful talk I have ever heard. And I've heard the $100,000 speakers and everything in between. Nobody has had as much impact on me as Ethan Fisher and his story. I talked about having a glass or two or three or four of wine at the gala. I don't have anything but club soda at the galas now, after hearing what Ethan went through. He served his time, but every day he still wakes up and thinks about Bill, the father, the husband, the son that he took from his family. So Ethan cannot bring Bill back, but Ethan has saved hundreds of lives with his story. And this story is applicable to high school students, college students, and corporate America. That we could just be a fine line away from sitting here or sitting with fellow inmates. I was invited in May to visit a facility that once again blew my mind. And we're talking once again about preparation, preparing returning citizens for reentry into society. I was able to visit a one-of-a-kind facility. And this facility is in Phoenix. It's an old Sheraton hotel that was closed. And that Sheraton hotel was purchased with a group of investors. They completely renovated the hotel. And today it is now 1 year old and it's called New Freedom. And New Freedom, the purpose of New Freedom is taking in returning citizens when they have been released. The returning citizens don't have to go to New Freedom. They can go home. They can go to the streets. But they were exposed to a program while they were in prison through Gold Canyon Heart and Home. The entire behavioral health program was written by an inmate named Joe Chiappetta, who served 17 years. Joe Chiappetta taught the lifers the program, and so the lifers were then peer-to-peer counseling with inmates who were going to be getting out. This program was so effective in the prisons in Arizona that instead of 50 to 60% recidivism rates, the people who went through this program, 9% recidivism rates. So Joe Chiappetta got out in 2017, partnered with these individuals who made it possible to acquire the Sheraton Hotel, refurbish it, and now start taking returning citizens in so they can continue the programming they had in prison. Every single employee of New Freedom is a returning citizen. Every department head is a returning citizen, mentoring and counseling their peers. It's the most amazing thing I've ever seen. You walk in, you think it's Disneyland. I mean, they are happy. They're patting each other on the back. They're hugging each other, supporting each other. So Joe Chiappetta's program, Gold Canyon Heart and Home Mental Health Services, is recognized by Medicare and Medicaid. So that's how the facility is funded, because they are a recognized mental health services organization. So all of the classes they are conducting with the returning citizens are recognized by Medicare and Medicaid. And when I was there in May, they were at 50% capacity. The 220 beds out of 440 beds were filled. They're slowly adding more and more, but they want to do it gradually. But by this time next year, they will have 440 returning citizens living there for the first 70 days, and they can live there at no charge. 3 meals a day, programming on alcohol and drug abuse, programming on anger management, programming on reuniting with your family. Also, job training, preparations for jobs. So every department head, like I said, is a returning citizen. I was in a room for 4 hours with combined, I mean, Najee had spent 40 years, Chapetta, 18 years, Tracy, 25 years, Gabriel, who was the top skinhead in prison, is now a department head helping returning citizens succeed back out in the community. I'm in a room with 100 years worth of prison time with these 4 guys. They were the most loving, considerate, kind people I met. When I left after a 4-hour meeting, they all gave me a huge hug, said, thank you for your interest in New Freedom and what we're doing here. They want to, Joe Chapetta wants to scale this program throughout the country because it is going to reduce recidivism rates. It already has with those who were in prison and went through the program. It's going to reduce recidivism rates even more if they have been released, because they walk out of New Freedom. At 70 days, they have a job. One of the departments is workforce development, and it's a returning citizen plus 4 others on his staff who talk to employers in the Phoenix area who say, yes, we'll hire him, we'll hire him, we'll hire him. So at 70 days, you're done with all of your programming. You now have a job. At 90 days, you can leave. But guess what? You now have money. They arrange for housing in the community, and you have a job. They are no longer desperate. They don't have to steal cars and break into your house because they have no money. They have no place to live. They are able to be self-sufficient when they leave New Freedom. So I'm on fire for trying to find investors and get the programming started in the prisons in Colorado, because there are some incredible programs that are already in place in Colorado. And the Second Chance Center, of which I know one of your members runs the Second Chance Second Chance Center. The Realness Project, which was formerly called Authentic Relating, Breakthrough, which was called Defy Colorado, the Denver Dream Center, the Mental Health Innovation Center at the Anschutz Medical Center, and then speakers as well. So we have the programs, and I would like to have Joe Chapetta teach lifers in Colorado the program so they can start peer-to-peer mentoring and really start reducing recidivism rates in Colorado, and then acquire a hotel that could be renovated, and then continue the programming, and then allow returning citizens to succeed. At the end of the day, everybody wins. The returning citizen wins. Their family wins. Their employer wins. The community wins. And the Department of Corrections wins. In a perfect world, we would see so much success that we'd have to close prisons. What do? Convert them to a distribution center and employ returning citizens. They can make tiny homes. They can make these new container homes that everybody's talking about now. But they could learn a skill. They could learn how to drive forklifts. They can work computers. They could build so many skills that would help them succeed. when they re-enter. So I'm certainly open to any questions you may have. I believe there are almost like 3 categories when it comes to inmates, criminals. One is lock the door, throw away the key. The other one might be, really don't think about it either way. And the third one is, I want to help these people succeed. Yes, sir. Oh, the 3 categories I just mentioned? Actually, the 3 categories I just mentioned was how we think. Say, what do you think about prisons? Or what do you think about inmates? Well, I think you lock the door, throw away the key. I talk to the next person, they say, well, I never really think about it either way. Third person said, I've had some experience with the system, and there's hope. And there is a way to really lower recidivism rates by properly preparing them for reentry.
Isn't it true that we still have, some folks call them hardcore, whatever they are? I mean, there are some people in the prison population that aren't going to be rehabilitated that are there, but a vast majority of them, of what I'm hearing you say, is a vast.
You just said it, with the right tools. 95% of them are going to get out. So if you're of the attitude that you lock the door, throw away the key, and then let this wild animal out in 15 years, what do you think is going to happen? Bad things. Bad things for the community, bad things for the returning citizen.
Why don't you or one of those Colorado-centric or Denver-centric organizations doing your work, why don't you apply for a grant from our Denver Rotary Club Foundation?
Yes.
You're invited to do so.
Yeah.
And thank you.
Well, thank you. Thank you for that comment. These organizations, unfortunately, have to spend half their time raising money so they can volunteer their time in prison. And it's, I met with Dean Williams, who is our head of the Colorado Department of Corrections, terrific guy. We got him from Arizona, where he really, really did a phenomenal job with the system in Alaska. But Dean is doing a phenomenal job here. And I've told Dean I want to do everything I can to help you reduce recidivism rates, because he truly wants to see these men and women succeed. And that's not the case in every state. Some of them want to create a hellhole. They want to make life absolutely miserable for these people. Well, what do you think they're going to act like when they get out, if that's been the case? Dean Williams is into normalization. Let's make this, they certainly need to pay their dues, but over time, they can actually earn more privileges with good behavior and so forth. So were there any other questions? Yes, sir.
So from what I understand, you pointed out a lot of the nonprofit organizations, the privately supported ones. I'm curious a little bit about what does the state, what does the government do right now in Colorado for parolees, people who returning citizens? What level, if any, and what appetite do you see as far as providing more, since this, I think, is kind of common sense?
Yes. Well, the reason we're seeing the recidivism rates we're seeing is because there is no consistent program. You have some areas that are very successful and some aren't, but it's usually because of a nonprofit who came in and made a difference. I went to Dean Williams December of 19 and had a chat with him, and I said, Dean, I would love to start an organization. I've got this umbrella, and under that organization is Authentic Relating, Defy Colorado, and all these other organizations I became familiar with. And I said, I know if everyone goes through these 10 programs before they recidivism rates, and every time somebody leaves and they don't come back, Dean, it saves you $40,000. If 10 leave a prison, they don't come back, $400,000. Well, we have 23 state prisons in Colorado. I didn't know if you knew that, and they house about 20,000 inmates. Start running the numbers. So I said, Dean, if 10 left per prison, if 25 left per prison, if 50, if 100 left per prison times 23 prisons times $40,000 an inmate, $80 million a year, the system would save by providing the program they need to succeed. It's like, okay, what's missing here? So I would just love to see a New Freedom type organization open here. And believe it or not, there was no kickback. There was no problem with the community when they wanted to buy this hotel and provide it for housing and programming for returning citizens, because once again, they're released. They can go anywhere. But now you have these people who have chosen to get better and be successful and be a tax-paying citizens. So there's just a lack of consistency. What I was starting to say with all these phenomenal nonprofits, they spend half of their time raising money. I want them to spend all their time putting more of their programs in more prisons. These terrific organizations might be in 3 out of the 23 prisons. And they're really blessing the people they're touching in those 3 prisons, but there are 20 other prisons that are not getting the program because they don't have enough money to scale their nonprofit and reach more people. So, yes, sir.
Thank you very much. Do you have statistics on the level of education for inmates, and are there programs where they can improve their education while they're in prison?
Again, state to state, prison to prison. There is no ongoing program. It takes a program like Defy Colorado, which is based here. They go into the prison, or yes, they go into the prisons, and while there, the inmates get their high school education. They get their GED. But again, it's not across the board, unfortunately. I don't know that number. I don't know that number. Yeah. And I'm more than happy to talk to anybody afterwards in more detail. If you'd like to buy a hotel or something. And one last thing, the question was asked about how many of them are going to get out of prison, and aren't there some who should never get out? You are absolutely right. And I've met a lot of them who need to stay in prison. I've had them look me in the eye and say, Scott, I don't trust myself. I need to stay in prison. I said, that's huge self-awareness. And the guy could actually get out in the next couple of years, but he's going to keep doing something, pick fights or whatever the case may be. So his term is extended. He said, if I get out, I could hurt somebody within a month. I know that about myself, but they're like the 5%. Yes.
Two questions. One, maybe really quick. Of the state prisons, how many, or if any, are run by for-profit institutions that may not have an incentive to do something like this? And secondly, my father spent his entire career trying to keep kids out of prison. Does this program, could it be modified, or is it intended for juvenile delinquents?
Juvenile delinquents is kind of a whole different set of circumstances. And I've only dealt with adults. There are just a lot of different things going on when we're dealing with juveniles. So I can't give you a good answer for that. But, you know, I've seen some very young people in prison, 19, 20, 21, and they're in the federal or they're in the state prisons. Back to your other question, though, of the 23 prisons that I've talked about in Colorado, those are all state prisons. I visited the federal prison and told his story, and has inspired the men to do something with their lives when they get out, like Ethan has done with his life. But otherwise, when it comes to the juvenile side, I just don't have a lot of background in that area, and I don't want to fake it. So, okay, thank you.
Scott, thank you so much for being here. I think this is yours. And, you know, obviously amazing work that you're doing and that you're bringing some awareness to. In honor of your presence here today, we are making a donation to our polio efforts to eradicate polio, and combined with the 2-to-1 match from the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, your presence here will assist in immunizing 100 children, not eradicating 100 children, immunizing 100 children against polio. That is like everybody does that, I swear. But with that, again, thank you so much for being here. Seriously, true. All right, as a reminder, next week we are going to be doing the happy hour here next Thursday. It is what, 4:30 to 6:30, or yeah, 4:30 to 6:30, right? Yeah. Okay. 4:30 to 6:30 here at the Warwick. We'll be in this room. So so come on over, have a couple hors d'oeuvres, have a drink, and enjoy some time with us. And Chad, Lucy, if you could go and stand over by where Lauren is to kind of be able to greet everybody as they walk out, and they'll be warmly welcoming you to the club on the way out. And finally, with that, let's do the 4-way test. The things that we think, say, or do, is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned? And with that, thank you so much, everybody. We'll see you next week. Cheers.